don't miss out on this. I'm gonna explain what I mean by that in just a moment, guys, because there's some articles I want to go over that is going to back up my statements that I'm gonna say in this video. But also do keep in mind, guys, that everything I say in this video is just my own personal opinion. It is not financial advice because I am not always right on my trades, but I do stick with them until I am proven wrong. And first thing I want to go over, and then towards the end, I'm going to go over the Bitcoin technical analysis and what the charts are telling me. But first of all, we have this supports it, right? You don't want to miss out on Bitcoin's next leg up. And a lot of people are not aware of this and they don't check the Bitcoin supply, right? So like you have in the orange one, you have the circulating supply, right? So as you can see, over time, there is less Bitcoin being created. So we have less inventory that is building up over time. And as you can see, it's going, and it's pretty much just about flat, which means that, if we do have a lot of adoption, like where I'm going to go over in a moment, but if we do have a lot of that increasing, states, governments, companies just all buying Bitcoin, and it's growing the amount of Bitcoin that's being accumulated, at the same time, a decreasing actual circulating supply, right? So how many Bitcoins are being mined? It's just, you know, demand keeps rising, supply keeps dropping. So this is just one sign why Bitcoin is going to continue to go up, and then the red line also represents the amount of remaining supply. So you can see every Bitcoin that's being mined over time is aggressively continuing to be accumulated, and there's less and less and less actual remaining supply, and it's still moving downward. So like Bitcoin supply and demand is super super strong, and then you have, like I said, states in the U.S. that are continuing to accumulate, and ones that are intend to accumulate and that will be accumulating soon. For example, like one of them is Utah. Its Bitcoin reserve bill heads into the second Senate reading, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start. We see a news article about how Utah is officially accumulating Bitcoin, and then you have companies like MicroStrategy that just they have $2 billion it's going to be flowing in to the company. It's even though they're watering down shares to do so, they're continuing to aggressively accumulate Bitcoin into their balance sheets, right? And another company that is doing this is Mara. So Mara, it's a Bitcoin mining company, if you guys are not aware, and they are not just increasing their productivity, but they are also at the same time accumulating more Bitcoin. So they're holding on to Bitcoin they mine, and on top of that, they are also acquiring more Bitcoin from the spot market by doing the same thing MicroStrategy is doing by watering down shares, and Mara's balance sheet is also incredibly strong and growing when it comes to their Bitcoin holdings. Now, to go over real quick the chart for Bitcoin, because this is not something anyone should be sleeping on if you want to be long on Bitcoin, because of these few points I'm going to make right here, right? So, for example, we've been moving in this sideways structure, and I said this in the last video, but this sideways structure is not really a whole lot different from this sideways structure. Is actually 2 points why it's actually better and much stronger. So first point is that during this time, mid 2024, we had, just more accumulation building up. Companies are acquiring it, governments are acquiring more Bitcoin, and then you have this amount of Bitcoin adoption that keeps increasing is also strengthening the foundation for Bitcoin, and really this foundation is what's supporting the price from going down and never coming back up again. So it's very similar to this point where we see that increasing foundation for Bitcoin becoming stronger. And the second thing about this one compared to the other one is that during this sideways movement, we actually been seeing lower lows and lower highs forming until finally we had a reversal point where we began to see the opposite of higher highs and higher lows. the thing about this chart is that we continue to see aggressive Bitcoin adoption. The foundation is actually becoming much stronger and in a much quicker time frame than in the past in mid 2024, like the fluctuations I just showed you. But at the same time, this structure is actually a lot more healthy because you have a swing high and then a higher high. It ended up after this first swing high, it ended up making a low, right? So now we have higher lows forming. So we have a higher high and higher lows forming on the overall trend. And the trend is like this, where we go up, down, and then we're going to start moving up. Because in my opinion, I'm going to go over this in a moment, but my opinion is that, well, because um, Bitcoin is growing in popularity, growing and becoming much more stronger when it comes to the foundation that's being built, like I gone over previously. But the thing is that this time around, what we have is a supportive structure that indicates bullishness is building up a lot sooner, unlike here where bullishness picked up a lot later. Here it's sooner because of the uptrend that we're in, technically higher highs and higher lows forming. It's just super simple. And if you go into the much more closer up picture, we have a lot of fib extension support areas that I like to use in red that get filled completely and then they just pump up. It gets filled completely and then it just pumps up. We do have retests of these supportive areas, but they always hold very well, especially due to, again, the increasing foundation. And right here we had another one where we have another fib extension support area being filled. And not just that, but now since we pushed up higher, we're actually trading above the 120 moving average, which in my opinion will begin to act as support soon. The reason for this is because if you have a lot of the supply of Bitcoin that's available right now being held in wallets that have no intention of selling anytime soon, you're going to have, a much stronger foundation to trade off of, because we're not going to see, there's articles talking about Bitcoin potentially falling down to 77,000. I believe it's much more likely for us to go up and make a new all-time high up here in this next leg up area than the likelihood of it falling down to 77k. And it just makes no sense. There has to be something crazy that happens, like causes a ton of outflows in Bitcoin, and there's just no evidence of any of that happening, at least right, not yet, right? So I do believe we're gonna move much higher. But in the smaller picture, to understand when we can potentially move up higher and then reach, all these targets is, well, Bitcoin has been trading this sideways pattern in this smaller structure, where we see liquidity walls both on the bottom and the top side, creating support and resistances. So I wouldn't be surprised if, due to this aggressive push up, where we haven't seen any significant lows, and by significant lows, I mean any lows at any point where it really dives deep into a retracement area. The thing is, though, that it doesn't have to dive deep, because you can see from the low to this swing high right here, we actually broke into it briefly. We had a wick in it, so minimum requirements were met. And then if we go to the current high, as you can see, it ended up using the retracement area as a support. But due to weakening in price, although you could argue that we can potentially move higher up into this blue area, because this little consolidation is building up momentum. We're seeing somewhat of a small triangle pattern forming after a rally, and this tends to be very good when it comes to building up bullish momentum. So if we consider that to be bullish, that's great, right? You gotta have positions ready at these discounted levels. But if it were to come down, I would not be surprised if it comes down to the 120 and quickly recovers, 120 moving average, and quickly recovers back up and starts finally breaking out of this liquidity wall resistance up here in this gap that it's currently in. So a reasonable little retracement will make sense. There's also small imbalance right here. I'm going to try to make this a little easier to look at. There's small imbalance here that can act as a magnet. and as a support. At the same time, though, we have plenty of consolidation right here, which tends to also act as a magnet when you have tight consolidation and a continuation of the pump. It usually also tends to act as a magnet. So we can either find support here or find support on the 120, or even just under 96,000 we can find support. And regardless of any of these, would not be surprised if Bitcoin just skyrockets up after that. Just a V-shaped recovery super quick and begins to finally break past these liquidity walls. Because at the same time, if you consider where we're at in this overall structure, we're still very much in the discounted area. So very, very soon we'll be in the premium area due to, again, the strengthening of this Bitcoin foundation that government, states, companies are supporting. And it just creates a super clear opportunity, right? So like if we were to start moving lower due to, I don't know, overvaluation in the short term, we would have seen very, very easily a overshooting B wave not form. It would have been more of like a WXY pattern where we see the top somewhere here, and then we start pushing lower and make a new low. Instead, we ended up breaking above the previous high, and then coming down and finding the support well above this swing low right here. So there's plenty of signs that Bitcoin is getting ready to move higher very, very soon, and aggressively higher. So it's very important for anyone that believes in Bitcoin and that has a long enough time horizon to live past any potential small corrections we have in consolidations before pumping up higher, which I don't believe it's going to take long to happen. But I am trying to look at lower prices. Any lower price from here where we find support somewhere in this area, it'll create a strong opportunity for like Mara and MSTR and even BitU. So yeah, guys, I hope this video made sense. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.